Well, good evening. Hi. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Slate DraftKings show. We take you up until 6 o'clock every weeknight, most weeknights. No Sims tonight because there is Monday night football. Week 13 wraps up with Bucks Saints. Good old NFC South, one of the best divisions in the NFL. These teams take each other on to close up the week. We'll discuss DFS, sportsbook angles, DraftKings Sportsbook, over on the DraftKings website right now with the showdown contest pulled up. So we'll dive into that. If you folks have questions, we'll take them over in the YouTube section as well as Twitch. Happy to have you here. We're also live on the DraftKings DK Nation Twitter platform. So join us there. We'll also look ahead to the week 14. Some interesting spots. A lot of really solid head-to-head division games. And some teams that could be out for revenge, like the Bengals. They're home against the Browns. Browns slaughtered them on Monday night in Cleveland earlier in the year. We've got Bills-Jets. That's a rematch. And it's big for Buffalo because they've only got one division win to this point. They did beat the Patriots last Thursday. But, yeah, that's a spot that I find interesting. The Giants are playing the Eagles. Are the Giants going to hang around? We don't know. Giants and Commanders tied yesterday. So there's some good divisional matchups this coming weekend. Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen. We'll start just quickly a big picture topic from yesterday. Would you take away from all the games yesterday? 13 games on Sunday.
Yeah, no. Obviously, big news of San Francisco. It's going to affect things. Obviously, hard to put San Francisco, at the top of the NFC with the Eagles and the Cowboys right now. It's just a massive blow. It's too bad. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing really well too, but. Man, San Francisco, the injuries always seem to pile up there. To me, like Eagles, Bengals.
Well, I wanted to chime in quick because I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like all offseason it was us two talking about where would Jimmy Garoppolo end up, right? In the trade market. It was like every Monday show, Jeff and Glasheen coming on discussing the latest on Garoppolo. He just got cleared to throw, but they're not giving him a playbook. And I remember you, and I'm not knocking you. I think it was a great point at the time. If something were to happen to Trey Lance, the Niners had the best backup quarterback situation in the NFL. And what do we know? Jimmy Garoppolo just can't catch a break. This one to me wasn't really freakish. He was making a football play, and unfortunately he got hurt. That dude can't catch a break. But that's a great point. It just kind of popped into my head. I'm like, every time we're together, there's something in the news about Jimmy Garoppolo, or we think there's something in the news, a rumor. This is legitimate news. He's out for the year, but yeah, man, that's got to be a bummer. I think you're going to be okay with your Niners future to win the division. That seems fine. Well, that's not a lock yet because Seattle's hanging around, but
it's no lock. But
yeah, I wanted to make that point. We've been talking Garoppolo basically since July. Yeah. So
I think the 49ers will still win the division. I do. Their defense is elite. They're going to run the ball a lot. They brought in McCaffrey, which looks like a really smart move now because now they're just committed to doing as much short pass game, whatever you can. Kyle Shanahan will dial up enough offense here. Brock Purdy's just going to be a distributor in the short game. But, when it comes playoff time, at some point your quarterback, it's a cliche, but it's also true. Your quarterback has to win you a game. Garoppolo couldn't do it last year, couldn't do it in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl the year, they lost to the Chiefs. And Brock Purdy will probably suffer the same fate. So like San Francisco, they had an elite defense to win the division, but you can't really look at them as unless they get some magic in a bottle with someone else they bring in. It could happen. I don't like the chances of that happening considering the market that's out there right now, but it could happen. So San Francisco's still a team that's out there, but man, you got to think they took a major hit and odds-wise and stuff for the Super Bowl. I think the biggest thing to me is people are finally starting to wake up to the fact that the Bengals are legit, they're good. Yep. They've been good for the last 5 weeks too. I don't think people realize. Winning on the road without Jamar Chase, their defense, basically forcing Patrick Mahomes into his worst game of the year. It's not an elite defense, but they're just very, very disciplined, the Cincinnati Bengals on defense. And obviously the offense, Joe Burrow playing at a very, very high level, man. This MVP race, if they win out here, I still think there's some pretty good argument to be made to take Joe Burrow plus 600. Jalen Hurts put himself in a great position for that award yesterday with the last 2 weeks, really. But yeah, the Bengals are for real. I would not be shocked if that's the team that ends up in the Super Bowl again.
There is a path, I think, for Burrow. Of course, as we know in the NFL, typically to win MVP, you've got to be at the top of the league you're going to be a quarterback, of course. You got to be at the top of the league in passing statistics, passing yards, touchdowns, a good ratio. Most importantly, though, I think, and Jalen Hurts has benefited from this. He's having a great year, don't get me wrong, but being a top 1 or 2 seed in your conference, and that's where the Bengals are lacking, but they're on the right path. And it looks like if we get some slippage here from possibly Buffalo, which I don't find all that likely, I think the Bills are through the gauntlet of their schedule. And then the Ravens, God knows with them. They're week to week with Lamar Jackson. If they fall out of the 3, and the Bengals, maybe there's a case if the Bengals get to 3, Mahomes is still your favorite at plus 125. That head-to-head win certainly helps. I mean, the head-to-head stuff, this was kind of the argument folks made for Tua when he beat Josh Allen head-to-head. But that loss yesterday for the Dolphins doesn't do any favors. Yeah, the Bengals, they don't have a lot of big names on that defense, but they're pretty legit. And they can play in a shootout. Like they're the team that can hang with them, right? And having Chase back was a huge help. But insert Pirine for Mixon, Hayden Hurst goes down, and Joe Burrow he's a bad man. 3rd and 11, got to have it play. Tight window over the middle, gets the ball there. Even the game against the Titans, it wasn't a sexy game. Two very good defenses, but he makes the big throw when he has to.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, like the win over the Titans is almost more impressive because it was on the road, windy conditions, no chase. But yeah, great win for the Bengals. They're just very consistent, and they kind of have that ace in the hole with Burrow, who is playing highest level of pretty much. He's right up there with Mahomes.
Is there still value
neck and neck? So him Hurts. Sorry, go ahead.
Is there still value? Like the Bengals just 2 weeks ago, you could get them to win the conference at plus 1,000.
Yeah.
They're at plus 650 now. So the Chiefs take a little hit because of that loss yesterday, because now the Bills have the 1 seed. I should mention, too, Miami missed an opportunity. If the Dolphins had beat the Niners yesterday, Miami's your 1 seed today. And that's not the case. Buffalo with the win over New England and Miami losing. Bills get back to the 1. KC's your 2. Ravens 3, the Titans 4, and then the Bengals are one of the wild cards in the 5. But do you still think there's value at plus 650, or you're not getting a better number? You're not getting the best number you can with the Bengals based on how it went?
Yeah, so the Bengals were plus 1,800 before that game to win the Super Bowl. I can't remember what their conference odds were, but I mean,
I want to guess it was 4 digits. It was hovering around plus 1,000 just before the KC game.
I really don't hate it. Like, again, they just beat the Chiefs. I'm not like calling the Chiefs frauds or something, but
no,
when you put all the pieces together for the Bengals, I mean, like their offense, they have more weapons out there. Their defense is, I wouldn't even call it a wash. I just think the Bengals are more disciplined, and they just allow a few less big plays, and they just make stops when they need to. So, the Bengals, again, you don't have to take them here, but I think that number's still a little too big. I still think they're being undervalued just in the entire betting market. I mean, you go down, you look at Super Bowl odds. I mean, there's really 3 teams we're talking about. I mean, you could put the Dolphins in there. It's not like I don't think the Dolphins can beat some of these teams, but I think that there's a definite drop off between the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs to the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins have the weakest defense. They have holes there. I think they're, again, I don't want to call them a system team or something, but when you take Tua, and we saw this yesterday, when you get pressure on them, you take away a few of those quick passes, and all of a sudden, things don't flow as naturally, right? So, I think that it's tougher to stop Joe Burrow unless you're even when you're sacking Joe Burrow into oblivion, he'll sometimes get there against you. So, the Bengals deserve to be a little bit shorter than this. In my opinion, anyways. I don't think they should be tied with the 49ers right now. I think at the very least, you got to put them closer to where the Cowboys are. So I still think there's some value there. I don't think that people are just really ready to give the Bengals, which is kind of weird to me. This idea that the Bengals are like a lucky team Like they've proven to. I mean, look at their against the spread record, man. Like lucky teams don't cover the spread like every single week. I mean,
Except the Vikings.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I think the Bengals still undervalued. I really don't hate the bet at all. At the same time, I still think the Bills are the best team, like in the AFC and potentially in the whole league. So,
I mean, look at it like this: it's a few weeks away. They meet on Monday Night Football to kick off the new year, January 2nd, Monday night. Bills at Bengals. Are the Bengals favorites in that game? I mean, based on these odds here, that's probably close to Bills -3.
They should have been favored last week. I mean, I pointed it out. I don't know if I talked about it with you, but I definitely talked about it way later in the week. It was disrespectful. Like, what have the Bengals done? All they've done is win, and they're getting 2 points at home against the Chiefs. And they're getting on the week they get Chase back. Made no sense. That line made no sense. We'll see what happens when we get there. If the Bengals keep winning, I mean, they'll definitely be favorites. They may even be 3-point favorites. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of football between now and then. But if it was happening today, I would say it would probably be a pick 'em. Maybe even like the Bengals again, like underdogs again. Which again, I think a pick 'em sounds about right to me. Maybe even like the Bengals is like 1 point. But once you get to that range, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just where the money's shifting. But it's I think those are the top 2 teams in the AFC. I really do. Buffalo and Cincinnati. So good scheduling decision by the league this year.
Yeah, finally. One game
makes up for the Russell Wilson primetime, fiesta that we got earlier in the year.
Yeah, but look, everyone thought Denver would be better than this. I mean, that is offensive. They're not even worth talking about. 9.
They covered last week, but
they did. They got 8.5, 9, wherever you got the number.
They should have won that game.
No, it's a good point. I mean, you'd think at that point, if the Bengals, not to say they have to win every game here going out, but if the Bengals live up to expectation between now and then, don't folks learn their lesson? Let's not make them an underdog at home again.
I mean, it's football. It's so much could happen. Like you could get an injury, the team could lose get one bad break, lose 2 games in a row. Obviously, everything is close, but man, like Bengals have been impressive taking care of business lately. And the Bills obviously still just elite. So,
yep. And they're getting help. Well, they lost Von Miller, but Tre'Davious White 2 games back.
Yeah, Tre'Davious White back, getting healthier for sure.
And they look good defensively in that second half. The Patriots' offense is anemic, but we'll give the Bills a little bit of credit for how they played too.
Yeah.
Okay. How about tonight? I almost said the Patriots. The Bucks and Tom Brady. I know. I put all the gear on and I start getting nostalgic. It's really sad that what my life has come to. But the Buccaneers and the Saints, as everyone knows, the Saints have kind of had Brady's number since he's arrived in Tampa, outside of when Brady went on the road. If I remember correctly, that's right. He went on the road and beat Breeze, then he beat Rodgers, and then he beat Mahomes. That's right, and won the Super Bowl. Year 1 after Belichick. That's right. That's how that went down. I'm being sarcastic. Okay, 3.5 points. What do you think of this game? Totals at 41.
Yeah, so I mean, with it being at 3, I probably would have sided with the Bucks or just said, like lay off it there. I mean, I'm not into this line a ton. At 3.5, it kind of feels like, oh, you kind of just got to like sigh and take the Saints. I'm just going to stay off the line tonight, to be honest. Like, I don't really want to bet the Bucks now that it's past 3 and take 3.5, but I don't really want to take the extra point with the Saints either. You're trusting Andy Dalton on the road, not to throw a pick 6 late or something. I just don't think you need to do that. I do think the total makes sense to go for an under here. The Saints defense is trending better. They always seem to get it together later in the year. And that's kind of been what's been going on lately. So, the Bucks getting a little bit healthier on offense, but I mean, like no health, like has it really mattered with the Bucks this year in terms of scoring? Their offense has just been like a shell of what we've seen the last 2 years. So I think you just ride the trends with these 2 teams. You take the under. I think the defense is probably in a spot to dominate. We saw the Bucks win like 23 or lose actually. Sorry, 23-17 last time we saw them to Cleveland. The week before that, 21-16, 16-13. They had one game go over where it was 22-27 against Baltimore, but that's Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. Their defense has been holding up teams. Their offense has been scoring between 60 and 20 points. Let's just take the under here at 41. I would much rather 41.5. Love 42, but like I'll take 41 if that's all we can get. I think the under here is the only kind of spread total line that I'm really interested in. And then, talk about player props.
Okay. Yeah, two teams in which the trends they're going in negative directions for both of these teams, because you've got the Saints. Well, you've got Dalton on Monday night has been brutal. 2-7 straight up, 3-6 against the spread. Tom Brady, historically good on Monday night, but his last 16 night games, he's 7-9 straight up, 2-14 against the number. Brady's having his worst season against the spread in his career. Tom Brady is 3-8 against the spread this year. The Bucs have the fewest wins against the number, and the Saints have failed to cover the spread in 5 straight road games. It's the first time they've done that. You got to go back to 2013, where they lost 6 in a row against the spread. I'm not sure if Drew Brees was hurt at that time. I don't know, but I think Brees was the quarterback at the time. I think that makes sense. So, okay, player props. Let's turn to those. You like Mr. Chris Olave. He's had a good year, but for a bad offense.
Yeah, no, Olave is just a player. I mean, in terms of just how I think that the Saints will be able to potentially have a little bit of success on offense, it'll probably come through Olave. He's 32nd in the league in total air yards. He's just getting targeted downfield a ton. He's getting separation. He's been up and down because his quarterback play is Andy Dalton, and that comes with its own risk. But Olave's legit. I think that with a better quarterback, he'd be having a much bigger year. He did go off for 100 yards and a touchdown 2 weeks ago against the Rams, though. And I just like his overs in this spot. I think that there's a lot of scenarios where you look at game flow. Saints going to be down potentially. Just having a couple extra targets against prevent defenses late could get you there. And again, I mean, Andy Dalton hasn't played too bad the last 2 weeks. I think Olave's in a spot to just have a good game. I like him for DFS too, but we got up. I think that you got to have I think the 2 wide receivers are your best options here. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points, but we also have, Alvin Kamara has not been running the ball well of late. You've got a dual-headed situation with Fournette and Rachaad White. I don't really know what to do there. Maybe you go with White just because he's got the PPR upside and hope he gets in the end zone. But I think that the 2, guys we know, big play potential, going to get the targets, probably lead their team in targets. It's Godwin and Olave, and Olave's a lot cheaper. So that's kind of how I'm looking for DFS. I think White is interesting. You could consider the quarterbacks, obviously, and then the 2 Chris is the wide receiver.
Who is the go-to captain? Do you want to captain a receiver? Do you want to captain Godwin or Olave, or is there another option?
Yeah, no, that would be my go-to. I mean, I think Godwin and Olave are like the players most likely to break out here. I think Rachaad White, if you're playing for a really low-scoring game, I think Rachaad White definitely has some appeal. Just that, obviously clearly becoming the pass-catching down back. But, I don't know how much Leonard Fournette's going to play tonight. I think there's a good chance that Fournette comes in and just, cuts White's snaps in half, which is why I lean towards the wide receivers. I think if one of these guys gets in the end zone, Godwin or Olave, they'll have a really good chance of being the top scorer. So kind of a strange night. I'm not expecting someone to just break out necessarily and have like a 30-point game. I think you're going to see really like spread scoring, but that also just lends itself to a cheaper player in Olave. If he gets 22 points, maybe Godwin gets 23, but like you're saving so much cash, right? So I think you're going to see sort of a spread night for scoring, among the top players, no one really having a massive game. And if you get someone with 20 points down there at 12K, I think it's going to be super valuable in the captain spot.
I feel like Evans and Brady are not on the same page. Is Evans a fade candidate?
I think Evans is a fade candidate. I don't know how much the field will be on Evans, though. That's the only thing. He could be a good contrarian spot. I think, but at the same time, like you can look at Mike Evans' last 8 times against the Saints. His biggest yardage output is 69 yards. Like he's been under 69 yards in 7 of the other 8 games. They just, the matchup with Lattimore, they just really dominate him on the outside. So I think that Evans makes the most appeal if you're going to like captain Tom Brady and, you're going to play for that big game, maybe like a 3-touchdown game where Brady gets all the touchdowns, maybe even rushes for one. And then he kind of brings Evans along for a decent game. Maybe they get in the end zone. But I'm not expecting big yardage. I think Evans is kind of touchdown dependent in this game. So, again, if you're going to captain Brady, I think Evans makes for a solid flex play to stack with him. But other than that, I'm not really looking towards him. He's not that cheap. And, we got White under there. We got the running backs, and we got Olave. So
That's right. And Evans, now I remember, I forget exactly what it was, but he didn't get ejected. He got suspended for a game. His temper flared a little bit?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Too. So he played in the game, 61 yards, 3 catches, 4 targets, but he did not play in week 3. I can't remember if his issue was with an official or with a player.
But it was with a player, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They attacked Tom Brady or something, and he said he had to stand up for him. I can't even remember. That was like a year ago.
So keep an eye on that. These teams, there's legitimate hate between these teams. I think, just because the Saints have had Brady's number and they're a little healthier. Also, the tight end, Juwan Johnson, who's been a favorite of ours in these primetime or standalone spots, he's out tonight. So keep an eye on this guy, right? Rashid Shaheed. He could be a nice value. I think he's going to be the popular value guy, right? At $1,400. Oh, Troutman's in too. Troutman's in.
Yep. No, but Rashid's a good call. Absolutely. Those are the two guys. I think you need to look at down there. Like, Shaheed is 2,100. Oh, wait, actually, it's cheaper than that. That's the
1,400
price. 1,400, and Troutman's 1,200. So both those guys for the Saints, not going to see a ton of targets. I think Troutman definitely has the better chance at a touchdown, but Shaheed, he could definitely rip you off like a 30-yard play on one target. Special teams exposure as well. These guys are under 1,500 for a reason. They're not going to see a ton of targets. Troutman probably will have the better volume because Juwan Johnson's not out there. But, even in games where he's kind of had the tight end spot to himself, he doesn't really catch more than 3 passes. So it's I don't really know. I would trust Troutman more to like not give me like a 0. Like Shaheed's floor is like legitimately 0. I think Troutman has a very good chance of seeing like 3 or 4 targets, potentially even 5 or 6 if we get like the game flow really goes right. But Shaheed could do like 50 yards, 40 yards on a catch, much better just pure upside on one play. Troutman, you really need to get in the end zone, I think, to pay off. So both guys in play. Looking down there, a little bit of interest in Cade Otton. Cameron Brate's banged up. Otton's really kind of been phased out, which is interesting because he had a really good little stretch there where, he was, just looked like he was good. Catching, he caught 8 of the last 9 targets, then basically didn't draw a target and saw his snaps get cut. So I don't know. It kind of feels like everyone's just out on him all of a sudden. And I get that like Brate was running routes, but we're not talking about like an elite starting tight end here. We're talking about Cameron Brate. I think there's every chance that Cade Otton could just pop back up and play a few more snaps. And they just say, oh yeah, we're going to give you some targets this week. Like it's not necessarily that he's just out. So I think Otton at 1,800, I think all 3 of those guys offer some good viability. I think Shaheed is the most likely to get you a 0. Definitely the most likely to get you a long touchdown. And then Troutman's probably the safest to get you like a couple points, because he's locked into the starting tight end role. But I think all of them are playable. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, tight ends have done well against the Bucs the last couple weeks. Browns, right, Njoku had a touchdown, 5 catches, 7 targets. Their game in Germany, Noah Fant had 3 catches on 4 targets for 34 yards. I'm sure his price was reasonable compared to a guy. Well, Njoku has been a go-to guy for Brissett, but of course it's not Brissett anymore. Njoku was like absent in the game against the Texans. So keep an eye on that. Tight ends have fared well against the Bucs the last couple.
Yeah, Adam Troutman touchdown call. I don't hate that for a prop. Maybe you go Adam Troutman 2 touchdowns if you really want to get crazy. What was your?
Oh, it was Freiermuth, your 2 touchdown call last week.
Oh, yeah, that didn't work well. We'll just forget about that. But
there was a target to him in the red zone at one point.
There was. Asking for 2 touchdowns from anyone is a lot, but Troutman for like a single touchdown, he's at plus 475. That's not bad. You mentioned the matchup, which I think is a really good thing to bring up. I don't even know what his 2 touchdowns. What is Troutman? Plus 4,000. That's asking a lot. Just take the 1.
Take the 1. 2 plus. There he is. Yeah, plus 4,000. Okay. Yeah, we're also keep in mind we got to trust Andy Dalton and Tom Brady at night, which has not fared well for him lately. Okay, low scoring game, but
Tom got his nap in today.
Maybe I'll pull. Yeah, right. Maybe I'll pull a Kaufman here. Kaufman might be right about playing the 2 kickers tonight.
The two kickers, yeah. I mean, we're talking a lot about the unders here and stuff like that. And I mean, there's some viability to taking, a few special teams plays, like maybe the Bucks defense load up against Andy Dalton. You can still play Olave as like the comeback play because he's very yardage dependent. There's still big plays out there, but Bucks defense, Bucks kicker, maybe use Olave as your only Saints play and come back with a stacked Bucks lineup. I don't hate that idea at all. Maybe mix in Rashad White and Brady with the special teams. There's good chance Tampa wins this like 20-3. It wouldn't shock me. I don't think any kind of result like that would shock people. So
that was the result in week 2. And when they've played, there was a game, I think it was
20-3. I just threw out a number. So
seriously, it was 20. I'll double check it, but it was something like that. And the other reason why to bring that up is when they get together head to head, there was a 9-6 final one year.
Didn't the Saints shut out the Bucks last year? Wasn't it like 9-0?
Something like that.
I think they did.
Here we go. 20-10. It wasn't 20-3. I think the Saints got a garbage touchdown at the end, but the score was 20-3 or 20 to something for a bit.
Basically playing for that game. I mean, it's,
Yep.
But yeah, there's, if you want to be ultra contrarian, the Saints, you could do the same thing with the Saints. You go with Kamara, maybe as your captain, come back. Like, I don't think Kamara's interesting. I don't think many people are going to captain him, which is weird because like he's a main carry running back, but he's been so bad against the Bucks and he's been so bad running the ball the last 3 weeks. Like I can't sit here and tell you why you would want to use him. The only reason why you'd want to use him is because the field's not going to use him. But that is a reason to use him. So, gaining some leverage there with like a Saints heavy lineup. I think, Kamara, Saints defense kind of play for the same kind of game we saw late last year when Taysom Hill started. I can't remember the score of that game. It was like
9-0. You were right. It was 9-0.
Yeah.
In Tampa, December 19th.
Yeah.
They just
that was legitimately one of the ugliest games I remember seeing. I just remember that. Yeah. So,
but to your point, Brady threw the ball, and this is where we've talked about the Bucks.
Yeah.
They've caught lightning in a bottle with this white kid, but Brady threw the ball 48 times, 48, and they only ran the ball 20-ish times. So,
and in that scenario, if you're playing for like a Saints win, using White as the comeback play makes sense because he is definitely going to be the pass catching back, in my opinion. That's where he'll see probably more of his work. So, which again, like makes him intriguing for DFS, but probably a good fade on the rushing props totals, like on the sports book. So.
Good God. Rob Gronkowski had 11 targets in that game, and he only caught 2 passes for 29 yards.
It was, like one of the grossest games that I remember watching.
Yep. It feels like we might be going that way again tonight. Godwin had 7 targets, 6 grabs, 49 yards. Mike Evans, 1 target, 14 yards.
It kind of feels like we're going to get a similar type of game, except it might be the Bucks winning, like 14-3 or something. So,
yep. Okay.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get a legit shootout here. That'd be something. 35-32.
Saints head coach has done a good job scheming it up against Brady in his past being
really good. No kidding.
On that defense. Dennis Allen.
Absolutely.
Real quick, we've got 5 minutes. Anything that's catching your eye going into the week for week 14, lines that you like now?
Yeah,
there's any movement.
We'll do a couple look ahead. Just let me get them up here. So,
like I said off the top, there's some really good division games. Like I said, some possible, revenge spots. The Bills lost to the Jets. They're laying 9 at home. Bengals have a chance to get back at the Browns. They're laying about a touchdown, laying 6.
Yeah.
Eagles, Giants too. 1 o'clock window. A lot of division games.
Definitely going to keep on the Bengals here. When that number, just get the Bengals under 7.
The Bengals
know this Browns thing now.
That's moved quick.
Yeah, the Bengals have heard enough about them not being able to beat the Browns, and quite frankly, 4.5 to 6 doesn't really matter. You get it under 7, you're good. I think Burrow is going to, that'll be interesting. Anyways,
also for Deshaun Watson starting that game, granted it was
terrible.
It was awful. It was his first game in 700 days.
Yeah, and again, like I talked about here. I talked about it this morning, and you definitely, it's not like he's forgotten how to play football, but there's going to be a learning curve here. And I don't think that necessarily the second game is going to bring back the old Deshaun Watson. Maybe make some plays at the end of the game or something, but there's every chance that like it's Deshaun Watson making the turnovers here, putting his team down, and then the Bengals just pour it on because they're sick of hearing about losing to the Browns. So yeah, man, get it under 7. I don't have a problem with that. The Lions-Vikings game is super interesting. The line is the over-under is already huge. I'll be dead honest. I'm on the Lions side there. That team's playing really good. Their defensive line's playing better. We'll see where the money goes later. I have a feeling this line might flip soon, but
it already did, Jeff. It was. I'm pretty sure the Vikings were a one. It opened at 1.5. Vikings is a favorite. It's flipped now to the Lions.
There you go. So I'm already late on my analysis.
No, it's okay.
I do like the Lions there.
About it too. Like
again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, 1.5. We're basically just playing the money line here. But
does the luck run out though with the Vikings? Does their luck run out?
Oh, absolutely. I think it does. I think the Lions win that game. But it should be a fun game regardless.
Yep.
And then I'll take the. Honestly.
So how about this money coming in on the Lions? Yeah, and that makes sense because the line flipped. But
I'm not shocked to hear that some early money came in on the Lions.
Okay.
And then the only other one I'll just say right off, I'll play for the Jags bounce back here. The Jags have been up and down. They're a young team, but nothing about the Titans really scares me too much. You're getting 3.5. I'm not going to take the Titans to cover that. They're a stoppable team. Yeah, when Derrick Henry gets going and their defense can dominate the line, they're tough, but their secondary is gettable. Trevor Lawrence is mobile. The Jaguars moved the ball. They just ran into like a really motivated, really strong Lions team right now last week, and it was a bit of a letdown spot. It's a division game. I think the Jags at 3.5 are fine, just like they were fine when they covered against the Ravens 2 weeks ago.
How about this? Texans getting 17.
Yeah, that's crazy.
With Kyle Allen as quarterback.
Texans are just, what are they doing on offense? I mean, what is Kyle Allen? What do you need to see from Kyle Allen? I get that Davis Mills wasn't playing good, but what do you need to see from Kyle Allen? I don't get it.
Feels like something might be going on there, like some intentional.
Oh, for sure. Let's make sure we get the last pick. Yeah, I know.
Dolphins maybe bouncing back against the Chargers. That jumps out. Chargers are home, but what does that mean? Chargers, are they really?
Yeah, the Chargers are. The Chargers. I mean, if they hadn't squeaked out that win against the Cardinals, they'd be done. That was my one bad call of the week, taking the Chargers to win that game. They're not
against the Raiders. Yeah,
they ain't looking too hot right now. I think the Dolphins probably bounce back there too.
And then if you like Tampa tonight, which again, we've talked about the trends, Brady's stats covering the spread at night, their spread covering the season is not great, but you're getting 3.5. Tom Brady's getting 3.5 in a homecoming at San Fran.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy at quarterback. I mean, that's a reflection of how good the Niners roster is outside of the quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, that one's interesting. I don't disagree.
Look at the total, 37.5.
If you like the Bucks, do it now, because if they win this game, like I think that's going to move. I think that could get under 3 if I had to guess.
I think so too.
If the Bucks win this game. Now, if they lose to the Saints, I don't think that number's going to move at all. But and I'll be dead honest here. I kind of like the Patriots as well. On next Monday night.
Bill against Cliff.
Yeah, I'll take Mac Jones in a dome. He played really well in Minnesota.
True.
Not going up against the Bills defense here. The Patriots look good against Minnesota. Their offense did anyways. They'll bounce back. I know they're not an elite team. I get it, but they still make plays. The Cardinals aren't good. They're not good. So yeah, I don't mind the Patriots there.
Okay.
Or, the Patriots. Sorry. Yes.
All right. Very good. We got to go. It's 6. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the game tonight. Bucks and Saints. And then week 14 will be underway. Coverage will be here live on the slate. We start just after that Madden Sim at 4. And of course, you can watch the Sweat every weekday at 11 a.m. on our platforms. Thanks to, and by the way, the scuffle was with Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans. Thanks, guys. Mike Evans and Lattimore.
Not shocking. They fight
shocking.
like every time they see each other. So.
They do. We'll see what happens. Okay, for Eamon and Pike behind the scenes, Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, you all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.